The Team Fortress 2 balance mod, or B mod, is a solo plugin that modifies existing weapon stats for the sake of rebalancing the game. It was developed by TF2 tuber HiGPS and was officially released in the summer of 2020. Its main goal was to make every weapon viable and to diversify Team Fortress 2 gameplay, which hasn't changed for quite a long time now. So far it seems good, doesn't it? Well, unfortunately over the years the mod has gotten quite a bad reputation among many Team Fortress 2 players. Why, you may ask? Well, I'm here to try to answer this question. I played balance mod for almost 2 years now, and I have some words to say about this mod. If you go to any TF2 related forums and ask people why they hate balance mod, the first thing you're probably going to notice is the fact that most people wouldn't answer that question, because the mod has been quite obscure for a good while now. Second of all, they will list you a lot of problems that, in my opinion, can be put into 3 categories: impossible goals, absolutism, and the owner himself, HiGPS. I will go over them one by one. If you go to the balancemod website, which you can find in the description, you can see the stated goals of the mod and the balancing rules. Many players, and I, have some problems with them. Let's start from the beginning. Rule 1. All weapons should be viable in the right situations. TF2 has a lot of weapons, like way too many weapons. And for classes, like Pyro for example, who has 9 melees, it is basically impossible to make them all viable without nerfing the alternatives into the ground, which would cause backlash for obvious reasons. It also ties into my next point. Rule 2. General weapons must not overshadow niche weapons. Now, it is not directly stated on the website that GPS will not nerf any generalist weapons. In fact, GPS did nerf the crossbow, but generally this never happens. So in order to make those niche weapons viable, he just gives them stupid stats that don't make much sense, like Neon Annihilate a mini crystal kill buff, or hit yourself for air speed paint train, and don't even get me started on the state of the medic in balance mode. That man is all buffed to shit, and, in my opinion, this point also contradicts the next one. Rule 3. A weapon can be a different version of another weapon. Now, I do believe this is a good idea on paper, but TF2 already has examples that show that it just doesn't work. The GRU and the eviction notice for heavy. People only gravitate towards the GRU because it gives you a more consistent speed buff, so it's pretty obvious that players of balance mod will also gravitate towards something consistent when given a choice. Even though the eviction notice was changed several times, it was always overshadowed because the GRU was more consistent. In the end, making weapons like these is just balancing for balance's sake, with no increase in usage. Okay, let's move to the last point. Rule 4. Class integrity. Classes and their respective weapons shall remain unique and refrain from blending together. Now, credit where credit is due, GPS did mostly keep the weapons true to the original classes, unlike other rebalanced mods like Kingo with their Fat Scout family business. However, I'd like to add that this website has a very strange wording. Do classes have to be unique? Or do their weapons have to be unique as well? If the weapons have to stand out too, this contradicts the third point, but oh well. And the integrity list is even stranger. It looks like it was made only for GPS and not the players, because what the hell is this formatting, just look at it. But I think you get my point now. The goals of balance mod can sometimes contradict themselves and are, in my opinion, basically impossible to achieve. The next deadly sin of B mod is absolutism, the rule of one man. Now, the mod was always controlled by one man, HiGPS, but ever since late 2021 it just all went downhill. Originally he did listen to the feedback and even implemented some of the ideas people suggested. While his opinion was always dominant, if he had a problem with a change, he would, in theory, at least listen to it and might do something. Nowadays, however, he has stopped reacting to feedback completely, unless it is from one of his yes men. Hell, he even has a list of people he specifically won't listen to. This caused an exodus of some regular players, because you no longer even get a feeling of affecting the decision making anymore.
Here's the thing about taking like feedback, right? So we had people complaining about the hot hand and power jack switch and how I said that was never going to change, right? And then I change it. And then the people who complained about it, who finally got their way, they left.
Even if you had used a weapon frequently, and knew where it was failing you, he would still brush it off as complaining. This resulted in a lot of stupid changes because GPS's testing standards are very vague. So most of the time, the stupid change stays until GPS stops liking it or almost the entire player base complains about it. A good example of this was his snipe on doing 140 damage on quickscope change, which many players complained about before it was changed back. This is actually a good segment to go into bmod's next scene. Oh GPS, the man who will never be popular. Those are his words, not mine. This man believes himself to be the savior of TF2, due to the fact that one of his rebalance suggestions was accepted by Valve back in the day.
And some symbols that I can't read. Do you think that, this is a question we already answered I think. Do you think maybe one day Valve will be using your balance mod idea to balance the game? They already have done that in the past. Before the balance mod, I created something called the Community Balance Advisor, which was basically just a Steam group and some spreadsheets where we suggest stuff to Valve, and it actually, like, some of it did get implemented. Like the big earner is how we designed it, and the sniper jumping out of scope cancel was my suggestion to Valve. So you see, like, a lot of the stuff we implement has been listened to and implemented.
So now, of course, he believes he's the go-to man when it comes to balancing new weapons. He even got this position on creators.tf back in the day. Now you know why those weapons sucked so badly.
So when I was designing the weapons, I spent so much time for the... I made the shotgun, and yeah, originally I just made the thumper shotgun, I think. That was my first weapon that I designed. And I spent so much time making it deploy, reload, and shoot at the same time as the Half-Life 1 shotgun. And no one gave a shit.
This also means he can outrun the bullshit into his mod, because he thinks it's funny or won't affect the gameplay that much, despite the fact that it goes against his own rules. We all know how funny it is to have the heavy spam putties while running around at scout speed. Not to mention that those meme changes are always broken or annoying, or the combination of the two. Like the fact that his fat scout did more damage than actual scout. Okay, I already spent too much time on this video, let's just get over the rest of the points. GPS believes everyone who disagrees with him is a moron, a troll, or a redditor. He really doesn't like Reddit, but who can blame him? GPS is a very salty person.
Time-wise, that was a bit rough. I'm the only one on my team that's managed to reach double digits, and on the other team there's 2 that hasn't. So that means that the success rate of my team is garbage. Yeah, look. What do you think is gonna happen, Robsan? You have the huntsman. What do you think's gonna happen? Do it again. Oh, look what happened! Oh, look what happened! Oh, it's like, oh, I used the huntsman, I got shut down. 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 I got the huntsman, got shut down. But what if I use the huntsman and maybe I won't get shut down again? Jesus fucking Christ. It's a good thing this is not streamed, because I'm mad already. I was so mad already.
Which sometimes results in mod abuse.
Well... Bye-bye! Fuck! It didn't work! No, Kool fucking put me back! I can't even cheat right! Ah!
Unwarranted bans, and more. GPS is a megalomaniac who punishes everyone on his mod team for any slight mistake, even though he might have done the same in the past.
I mentioned in a previous video where it's like anyone that's like in their 20s is like very unreliable, and just now, earlier when we're supposed to have a session, it happened because the guy who was hosting the session in New York didn't show up and didn't tell anyone he couldn't make it. Which is just shitty, if you ask me.
His new mode, Mad Machines, has basically made him forget about actual balance mode. I really don't want to talk about Mad Machines, so just know that it's an unbalanced game mode, specifically created for TF2 YouTubers, so they can power trip on unorganized casual players. It also crashes a lot. I should probably mention his strange rants about identity politics too.
You know, the sensitive issues about like gender and pronouns or something like that, which really has no place to be discussed at all in any TF2 settings because it's irrelevant because we make content and what gender you self-identify as is irrelevant. It doesn't fucking matter. You can be anything. It's not relevant. And but I don't get that because, you know, I'm Norwegian and we don't really have that sort of like importance on how to say, like the self-identity. Like in the US it's very different because everybody's like, I'm a quarter Irish, I'm a half Italian, I'm a sixth Spanish, while people in Europe just really don't give a shit because we're from here. And I think like this is just me spitballing stuff out of my ass, but I think like that sort of mentality that the US has with like their identity, especially their group of people that has had their like identity stolen or lost. It's very easy to like, it's very important to be an identity because we in Europe, we have an identity. We don't even think about it. We're like, yeah, we know who we are. We're this people and we're from this lineage and we come from here and we all just know it. And that creates a lot of noise when you're trying to develop stuff, when that gets discussed in meetings and turned into a problem when it really isn't a problem. And the same way of like handling slurs and people saying bad shit in chat. Like my approach is that you ban them if they say it a lot. Otherwise you just give them a warning and you'd be like, yeah, don't say that shit. But yeah, internet's turning into a very snowflakey place. I mean, just look at Netflix. They have a skip button for political jokes. What the fuck? Can't say killed anymore. You have to say unalived. That's the world we live in now. Fucking snowflakes. Anyway.
I really don't know why, but they sure are a thing. Also, a small side note, the balance mod community is a bit tryhardy, so a lot of new players can't really enjoy the game, which turns them away. I didn't want to make an entire segment about this, because balance mod players are generally cool, so yeah, let's just get done with this. Balance mod was, and perhaps still is, one of the most interesting experimental game modes for TF2 I ever seen. It helped popularize the idea of weaponry balancing servers that do not include custom weapons, but over time, due to bad management and the way GPS interacts with other TF2 players, it gained a lot of bad reputation, which kills any potential future it has. It was promising at first, but I am afraid it will never be as popular as it was post-trailer launch, which is quite sad in my opinion. Thank you for watching everyone. Have a good day.